I've worked with Adobe and Samsung and GoDaddy. Understanding the hook is really important. My last video, almost 9 million on TikTok for Bolt and like 3 million on Instagram, and it tapped into the ChatGPT 5 trends. And then the pacing is really important. I downloaded TikTok and saw some other teachers making videos about how they utilize AI, and I'm like,
we mostly work with AI agencies now.
AI was pretty fresh, pretty new, especially in the education space. No one was really talking about it.
It is a skill I think you can mostly learn.
How's it going to change? I think this may be the first time I've had two guests on the podcast at one time. I feel as if I'm in a bit of a round table right now. So, Sophie, Jett, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
I'm really excited to jump into two things today. One being content and two being your teaching experience. But I was wondering if you could kind of set some context to you, Sophie, specifically. From what I understand, during the pandemic, you were managing classrooms as a math and science teacher. And now you've moved into AI, you're teaching and actually creating content. Can you talk me through that transition a little bit?
Totally. Yeah, so I went to school to be a teacher, and then I taught math and science for 3 years. Throughout my whole life, I've loved tech, though. Like, I've always been into technology. I had my own POS system at age 10. I was such a nerd, but during the summer, so when ChatGPT came out in 2022, I became obsessed with it. And then during the summer of 2023, I had my first summer off as a teacher, and I was bored. So I downloaded TikTok and saw some other teachers making videos about how they utilize AI. And I'm like, oh, I could make better videos than this. So I'm like, oh, why don't I just start making videos? And I made like 3 videos, and then one of them popped off, and then literally just been going ever since. So yeah, so I kind of grew into making content for more just general people rather than teachers as my career kind of evolved, and I transitioned to like kind of fractional working with startups and doing content, and then also doing AI workshops and training. So I am doing that full time now. So it's very cool.
Interesting. Tell me more about the one that popped off. Why, looking back now, do you think it popped off? What was it about it?
For sure. I think there were 3 videos. They all did really well. I remember I came back and a couple days later and I had like almost 10,000 followers. I'm like, what is going on here? But I think they went well for a few reasons. Timing is huge, right? Like AI was pretty fresh, pretty new, especially in the education space. No one was really talking about it. And then it was about a couple ChatGPT wrappers that came out, and honestly, brand new. No one knows about it. And like, for example, one of them was like how to write a subplan in half the time. And that's like a huge pain point for teachers. So they were just like jaws on the floor. What is this magic? People were just absolutely freaking out, and teachers love free stuff. So I'm like, these are all the free tools you can use to do X, Y, Z. And then they just ate it up. So
Interesting. Has your content changed much since then? Because like looking on your TikTok page, it's very kind of simple, straight to the point. It's just you speaking to camera. It's not super high production or anything like that. It seems to connect with people. Like, why is that?
yeah, it's a good question. Firstly, because I don't have time or I really care about making it super high production. And I know that's definitely a personal preference. But I mostly try to keep everything like super authentic. So if I have an idea or I come across a use case where I'm like, holy, this is going to be so valuable for someone, I just pick up my phone and do it, because that's when I think people can feel your energy. They can feel it's real. They can feel like you are actually using the product and making this video. I find it very hard to follow a script or pre-plan or do anything like that. I'm very in the moment. And I think that people can sense that. Like if I try to read off a script, it's not good. So yeah. And then I think that also goes to my teaching style. I cannot stand fluff or jargon or people who take forever to get to the point. Like, AI isn't that complicated, so let's not make it more complicated than it is. Here's your problem. Here's a solution. Voila.
I noticed that as well. I was looking at your website, and something that you explicitly mentioned is when you're taking these workshops or doing this enterprise training, that that lack of jargon is like what you're aiming for. Is you're just going straight to the point with everything. I'm wondering two things on you picking up the phone and creating that content. One, how many takes does it usually take you to get the final piece? And two, is there ever any hesitance? How do you kind of overcome that?
Like hesitance towards filming?
Yeah, because I know for me, if I've got work to do as well, there's always some sort of like mental gap there between actually wanting to do it and doing it. I'm wondering how you overcome that, or if it's just instant for you at this point.
For sure. That's a great question, or two questions. How many takes do I always do one take and then I just edit it.
Are you
Um,
serious? One take?
oh yeah. Yep. It comes with
Okay.
practice. Yeah, and I just leave the camera rolling. So sometimes I'll if my hook isn't good, I'll like refilm it, but it'll be in the same take and then I just cut everything up in the TikTok app. Um so usually yeah, one take. I think like having the live reaction is always great. And then
Mm.
hesitancy for sure. Especially being like a woman, like sometimes I hesitate like cuz sometimes I'm working on my couch in my pajamas. I'm like, "Ugh, I don't look presentable right now." And then that kind of stops me from making videos, but I've done it a couple times and who cares? But that definitely is a blocker for me. Just because you want to come off as professional, but at the same time it's like, well, this is a really good video. I don't know what to do. And then yeah, other than that, not really. When I first started, it was really hard because I live in a place that's not very entrepreneurial and people don't really put themselves out there. Everyone here kind of just goes to university, works a 9 to 5. And so I felt a little like self conscious when I started posting content and like almost like cringy because there's not really many people doing it here. Um, but once I started seeing results and getting traction, I just kept rolling with it. And yeah, it's been great.
So obviously, when you're initially posting these videos, it's about stuff that you're interested in, stuff that you're noticing. I notice you're just doing things of your own regard. You're looking at Perplexity and going over the different features of this. But you got to the point now that you're working with Jet, you're working with multiple brands, ClickUp, Pipe Dream, Bowl. Talk to me about
Yep.
how we got to that conversation.
How me and Jet met? Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd love to hear that story.
Sure. Well, since I've been yapping, I'll let Jet tell that story because it's hilarious.
Yeah, just really quick, so I don't know if like the audience would know, but I'm one of the heads at DTC House, which is an organic ad agency, mostly running on TikTok. We also do Instagram and YouTube Shorts. And so I had met Sophie through, I was telling you earlier about it. It's called Poppy AI. So it's an AI platform. It's like a subscription basis, but it really helps with content and just getting content ideas out quicker. And it's a bit of a complex tool to understand at first. So I had hopped on like a really late night call. It was like 10 p.m. here, and I was just trying to understand it. And I was asking questions, and then Sophie messaged me privately and was like, "Hey, I can like let's talk. I can totally help you. Like let's meet early next week." And I thought that was super sweet. And so I was like, okay, like sure. We met, and she was super helpful. And then we kind of just stayed in contact a little bit. And then honestly, I didn't think she would say yes to working with us because she already has so much going on her own and she's just killing it. And she said yes. She's like, sure, like let's do it. And then we've been crushing it with her with 3 different accounts now.
It's been
Yeah, I
awesome.
noticed that as well. Can you dive into how those accounts work? Because they're different from your primary account. I noticed that they're like their own little siloed adventures as well. Talk me through the process of like why that works.
Yeah, so every account is different. So pretty much what we do at DTC House is we're helping brands either if they're a startup go viral, and we're typically like their main source of marketing, or if they're an already sort of a brand that's been out for a little bit, like Bolt, we're just helping supplement their marketing, and then we're getting organic TikToks out, and so we have found that those do best compared to like ads or things that are have ad spend behind it. It goes typically more viral, and you actually get true real users from it. And so that's the whole goal here. When brands we take on brands is they want DTC House to make them go viral and get users. And so we make these, we call them shadow accounts, but it's a sort of sponsored TikTok account. It's different than Sophie's main account or any of the creators we work with. But the whole goal is to just continuously post content every single day, making them go viral. And, it is hard to go viral sometimes. Within 30 posts, usually something goes viral at that point, but TikTok is a game, honestly. And so we just continuously post. Every post gets better and better. And typically something goes viral and gets a bunch of users. And so that's what Sophie's done so far for Bolt, String, and then we just started with ClickUp, but I know she's going to get that one too.
Interesting. So during this process, Sophie, you've got to familiarize yourself with these tools, or have you been using them in the past already?
Yes, I've actually used all three of those tools in the past already. And well, no, actually, ClickUp and Bolt I had used, and they're both great. String I hadn't heard of yet, but then they told me about it, and I remember I was considering it, and I was stuck on this automation for a client, trying to connect two platforms that didn't have very good open API access. I tried N8N, Zapier, Make.com. I literally spent like probably 2 days on like $100 task. I was so annoyed. So then Jet reached out and said, "Oh, there's this new like automation builder." And I'm like, "Okay, let me try this." And so I tried it. I'm like, connect app A to app B. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what they weren't very popular apps, but it was a newsletter opt-in and then add it to your email marketing. I don't know why they're separate in the first place, but whatever. And it did it in like 2 minutes. And I sent them like the longest email ever, freaking out. I'm like, I need to be on this account. This is the best thing I've ever used. I'm so done with all the other automation platforms. I literally like, I didn't have to do any API crap. I just made like a webhook. Yeah, it was awesome. So I was like, yep, String is great. And then I still use it. So I think that's key when you're
Interesting.
making content. You actually need to be a user.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to commend you for being able to use ClickUp. I think I took one look at ClickUp and was just so scared and terrified of the platform. I just immediately left. Anyone I know that's like good at ClickUp, they say it's the best thing ever and it changes their life. But I'm so terrified as a non-technical person of using it.
You know what? I think it's great, but the thing is, you just gotta like, there's a lot of features and it can get overwhelming, but I think you just start really, really small. Don't try to use all the features all at once. Just try to make a project, create some tasks, create some deadlines, and just start there and then just build every week. That's how I've been able to use it. And I used to use Notion before that, and same thing with Notion. It's big learning curve, but
Yeah,
I think if you give yourself a few days, you can definitely just keep piling on.
awesome. I got a question for both of you. In terms of what you've noticed of the brands that are the most receptive to working with you, obviously you both work in a social media space. This is a bit of a new way of marketing through TikTok and stuff like that. Is it mainly AI companies, tech companies? Have you noticed anything in terms of size? Like, what are the correlations to companies that see results and like working with you?
Yeah, I feel like I could probably answer that one. Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, so it's kind of evolved over the years for sure with DTC House, and we mostly work with AI agencies now. So either they're a startup, like I was saying, and they have zero marketing, and they found us and they see what we've done for other brands, and so they go all in. Or it's been brands that already have been successful for a while, and they just want to hop on this organic sort of TikTok content wave, which is really big now, honestly. Like more and more people are tapping into this because it just works. And so I would say at this point, it's kind of half and half. Obviously ClickUp and String, or at least Pipe Dream, that's not really a startup. But then, we've had clients like one of our most viral videos is actually a video with me because I used to be on the content side before, managing and helping run things. It has like close to 20 million views, and it's for one of our brands. It's still with us. They've been with us for coming close to a year now, and we have multiple creators, multiple accounts with them, and we were their only marketing, and we still are for that entire being. And they just continuously see growth, and they're called Landing Site AI, and so they're like an AI website builder, but we've just continuously been able to go viral with them, and so they continue working with us. And um, that's like a type of the startup type of brand that really we've helped grow their company pretty much. And then we have other ones like Bolts, and they have so many other methods of marketing, but we've also been getting them results, and it's just, adding more fuel to the fire there. And then Sophie's been crushing it on her Bolt account too. So it really just depends. We're pretty open to working with most brands as long as we can see potential, we can make them go viral, and they have a good product.
Do either of you foresee legacy B2B brands or huge companies, Amazon, AWS, IBM, Oracle, kind of entering this space anytime soon? Do you think they'll catch on or just forever kind of go through traditional marketing channels?
That's hard to say. I would say they would. I mean, we're working with ClickUp, and then we're also working with GroupMe, which is a branch of Microsoft. And so I think that more companies are becoming more aware of this, and typical ads and UGC might not be working as much as well as it used to be. So I personally think so. I don't know what Sophie thinks on that though.
I would have to agree, honestly, because I think these big legacy companies, they're already doing influencer marketing, right? Like I've worked with Adobe and Samsung and GoDaddy on paid campaign. Like they pay me to make a video on my channel. People are catching on. They are so sick of seeing ad style videos, right? And so I think there will be a shift towards more, I call like these canvas UGC accounts, I like to call them, like what we're doing here. So organic feeling content, because it is organic, but every video is showing a use case for that startup. And so when people see it, it doesn't scream in your face, oh, this is a sponsored post, oh, this is an ad. No, it's actually like an organic style TikTok showing you the product. So just like, yeah, I think just because they've already latched on to the previous trends, I think hopefully they should get on this one too.
Interesting. I've got a question for both of you. Jett, for you, what was it about Sophie's account that appealed to you and your team? What was attractive about it? What did you notice about it? And what makes it valuable? And then, Sophie, for you, that's obviously what you've done up until now to get to that 100K following. What does the next year for you look like in terms of creating content? How's it going to change?
Okay.
Well, I had found Sophie through, Poppy, and she was using all of her knowledge to help me understand that tool. But then, I got to know her a little bit. I checked out her socials. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl's killing it. And I found her Poppy video. I think I had actually already found that before. Didn't realize that was you who I was talking to though. And it has like, I don't know, million something views, right? At least,
Yeah.
Sophie?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I know that brought them so many users. And so me and Corey, the CEO, were like, she'd be perfect. Let's just reach out to her. And, you never know. Someone's really busy, but you are down. And we just always are looking for creators that understand how AI works and these tools and just get it, but also are really good at making content. And honestly, that it's harder to find those creators than you think. And so Sophie was just absolutely perfect for that. And so that's why she's on 3 accounts with us already.
It's fun. They're the best to work with, and they get results. They're like it's such an operation. It's awesome. And then
And
Liam,
then for
remind me
you,
of your question.
Sophie.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like why Jen was attracted to your account in the first place, attracted to working with you.
Oh,
This has
right.
got you to 100,000. That's the formula thus far. What does the next
Mhm.
couple of years look like for you?
Oh, great question. What does the next year look like for me? Um, I want to be more consistent with my own content, I think, and just continue producing content that helps people and that can kind of bring back down the AI tech bro barrier and just make it more actionable for people. It's surprising. Like I get a lot of DMs on TikTok or people who find me and then want me to do workshops with them that are like 40 plus, and people think that everyone is a Gen Z on TikTok, but they're they have such it's such a wide audience on there, and it's really awesome. And I really like it because I don't like Instagram as much because it's very follower centric, but if you make a TikTok and it hits a nerve with someone, then it pushes it to more people like that. And so yeah, it's just a platform where you don't have to be as polished and you can really just get straight to the value. But yeah, as for the next year, it's a great question. Where do I see my content going? I would have to think about that, but I think I'm just going to keep it up and just the beast is consistency. And I've been consistent. Like we post every day at DTC House. Like I post every single day on all 3 accounts, and the growth, like I'm at, I think over 20K on 2 of the accounts, and then we just started ClickUp, so that's not there yet. But in like a month, we were at 10K on one account followers. So it's pretty crazy what happens when you're consistent.
Yeah. I think there's a real beauty in the simplicity of it as well. I came into this thinking that there would be some secret formula to all this, and it's not really the case. You just get up, something strikes you, you do one recording, and you post it. I mean, it's like, why does that work? That doesn't make any sense to me. I want to
Okay.
overcomplicate things.
No, there is a little bit of a method, like for my personal stuff. Like I kind of do that, but I've been doing it so long that I understand hooks. I understand, like when I'm scrolling and I save something, I ask myself, why did I save this? What emotion did it hit? Um,
Mm,
and so just because I've made so many videos, it's kind of automatic for me.
yeah.
But really understanding the hook is really important. Not just what you're saying, but your text on screen and your visual hook, which Jet has helped me with a lot because that makes a huge difference. Um, and then the pacing is really important. Um, tweet finding things that have already worked and then just like iterating on them, which is huge. And Jet can talk more to that. And then also tapping into current trends. So like my last video, I think it's at almost 9 million on TikTok for Bolt and like 3 million on Instagram. And it tapped into the ChatGPT 5 trend. So if you can actually creatively figure out a way to loop the product into a current AI trend, um, that's also a method.
Yeah. I could go on about this for a long time, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it is a skill I think you can mostly learn as far as like creating content, but some people just, it's not their, some people just can't. It's, you have to have the art a little bit. And Sophie has, well, she already had all the capabilities, honestly, when we reached out to her. Some people need a little bit more training and need to understand just what makes a video be able to go viral. And a huge part of it is, yeah, tapping into trends and things that are already working, but then adding your own twist on it and plugging in the brand or product that, you know, we're trying to market for. It does take some time. And that's typically why we do 30 posts a month, because you're constantly learning from every post. Obviously, what you're putting out there is the best of the best that you're trying to put that out, but you're consistently looking back, seeing what's working, what's not, and just seeing what else is trending out there and tapping into that. And yeah, you know, you need a really good hook. There's like multiple different types of hooks. You need to address the problem that you're going to be solving with that product, making sure what you're showing with the product is actually cool. Like you're not just showing like the product's website, like you're actually showing how like ClickUp works and, you know, things inside of the product itself. And then CTA typically, but with what we do organically, it's not so much like, oh, go to the link in bio. It's more people will generally just want to use the product after they see that video because it was so helpful or it really solved that problem that we were first talking about.
I assume with trends there's some sort of balance between that like first mover bias and kind of seeing what's trending very quickly and then getting on it as soon as possible. How do you find a trend as it's emerging?
Um, I think we both can answer that a little differently, but um, you know, I'm always scrolling on TikTok. It's part of the job. And just you see something and you save it, keeping in mind which brand you think that would be able to work for, which product. And we work with, you know, a bunch of vibe coding, automations. We have like an AI shopping tool, ClickUp. Yeah, we have a whole bunch of different, but they're all AI niche typically. So most trending videos that's in the AI niche will work, but sometimes it doesn't. So you don't want to force it. And then we actually do hire out now for someone who just aimlessly, not aimlessly, but they're scrolling on TikTok every day and trying to find these trends for us so that way we can hop on it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then also like me and I know another creator, we were like, we had our own platforms before in the AI space. So we are also getting that content to us. delivered to us. I've tried to go on X a little bit more because I know there are some really good like indie hacker accounts and people talk about it. It's kind of hard for me though because there's so much tech bro nonsense, but I try my best. What I've actually done is I've turned on notifications from Greg Eisenberg because he's always on it. And then every time he tweets about something new, I get a notification instantly. So then I can just go straight to his Twitter and be like, oh, we can make a video off of point A, or like, because he keeps up to date with stuff. So I don't have to.
Mm.
So there's that. But then also because I'm an AI consultant and trainer, I'm always like, I read your newsletter. I read a few newsletters every day. I try to keep up as much as I can. So I kind of know like about the new releases. And so like ChatGPT 5 would be an example, but then Jett and DTC House are amazing at finding like the actual videos.
Mm. We've touched on it a few points now. The idea of tech bros making outlandish claims for what you can achieve with AI. And I was wondering if you could touch on the balance of that, because it is what dominates the headlines on YouTube. I'm not sure about TikTok, I don't use it myself, but here's how to make $10,000 in 2 hours using one simple trick, right? And obviously that's going to go viral. Talk to me about how true that can possibly be, and how do you balance your content on that edge between its potential for virality and also authenticity?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it is something that I'm still learning and not struggling with a little bit, but I'm always conscious of, because your hook needs to be almost clickbaity, but then at the same time, you want it to be ethical. So I don't like making outlandish claims like I made 10K in a month off this one automation. Like that's ridiculous. I would not say that. But like how can I spin that same psychological hook into something that's true and real that'll still make the person feel a little FOMO or like, oh, I want that. So that's something that's a very fine line to balance. So that's a really, really good question. I will never make an outlandish claim like that. And that's why I think it's also really important that the creator is really familiar with the accounts and actually uses them, because they can speak truthfully to the product. So I wouldn't go out and make an N8N video about how much money I can make with N8N, copying a template someone else used because that's what they do. Because I do not use N8N. So I'm not going to do that. And I will call people out on it because as a consultant, I see a lot of their business models that they're doing. Become an AI trainer and land 5K gigs every single month. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, oh my gosh, we can get into that. But I think, yeah, you need to be familiar with whatever you're talking about. If you actually made 10K off an automation, that's great. Show us how. Show us. Who's your client? Show us. Show us how you did it. Don't just be like, this sold for 10K. Like, show us. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I think there could just be a bit more honesty with it. Like, if you're in the space for long enough, you realize it's the same business model, whether it's fitness influencers, AI influencers, it's the model
Mhm.
of they do a little bit of work, have some real clients, and then make outlandish claims on what they've done for those clients, and then they get people to pay to subscribe to make that. And then the majority of their revenue then comes from people paying for the subscription for a membership, which they then use to inflate the lifestyle of what it looks like. So they'll buy a nice car or something else, put that on it, so people assume that it's from the business, but it's actually from the memberships in the first place. And you can catch on to it like this as soon as you see someone and they're trying to proclaim these massive things, and there's like a degree of flashiness in it. It's a nice Rolex that's in the screen, it's a nice background, it's a nice car that's in there somewhere. You can see how replicable it is when they're saying join my mastermind. It's like if you were really running a business this size, you wouldn't need to boast about it or tell people.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone you'd like to call out specifically?
Oh my goodness. No, but I just think,
No.
um, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to call anyone's name out specifically. Like this stuff happens all the time. It's the internet money bros who just want to pump and dump and make a bunch of money. So this happened with drop shipping. This happened with SMMA. This happened with I don't know what else. Now it's happening with AI automation agencies. So, for example, I saw one creator. It was the most ridiculous video I've ever seen in my life. It was him with text on screen, a bunch of spelling errors, which is, I get that, but there's AI now, so like correct yourself. But being like, he just tosses up the middle fingers and said, POV, you just sold an AI voice agent to 3 doctors' offices in 1 week and made 15K. And I've actually worked with a walk-in clinic here in Canada and implemented AI scribes for them. And you cannot get through the gatekeeper that quick. There were like, it just blows my mind. First of all, why would anyone want to do business? Like, why would any educated professional, like a doctor, want to do business with someone just throwing up their middle fingers on their TikTok? It just makes no sense to me. That's my point of view.
Yeah. I think with that as well, it's like you spend enough time in a B2B environment, you realize how long that life cycle is.
Yeah.
And it's no shorter than 6 months usually,
Yeah,
before any
exactly.
real business gets done. And
Mm-hmm.
working with AI as well, I'm not technical, but we have a bunch of like developers and stuff that work for us internally. Building any end workflows is just one part of the puzzle, right? There's so much more that
Mm-hmm.
goes into it than that, and it's so much more
Oh, yeah.
complex than you'd be led to believe as well.
Exactly. And like, you're not special. Anyone can white label a software. You don't even have to build stuff anymore. Um, but you
Mm.
need to be able to sell and market and actually deliver and fulfill. So, and yeah, you're absolutely right. B2B lead cycles are not 1 week, very rarely. So,
Yeah. I was wondering if we could finish off this section before we move into you working with B2B teams with both of your predictions. You're both very deeply involved in obviously AI, but the social media sphere in general. And I'm curious moving forward if you have any predictions on how this entire environment's going to develop. We've got AI avatars coming to fruition, AI influencers coming to be. We've got just like what people use, how people consume content changing. What are your expectations? You've got, I mean, I forgot to mention this as well, like the likes of WAP, if you've heard of them, with their clipping as well, like
mm,
the ability, the moat to creating content has never been lower. So, predictions in general to my vague, ambiguous question.
Um, yeah, I can answer that. It was kind of what Sophie was already talking about a little bit, with these big legacy brands coming into organic kind of content. I think that is going to be a huge thing. It might not even be like a shadow account where you can't tell as much that it's the brand. I think just getting on TikTok and making organic content, whether that be like meme like content or actual ads, but they're not being paid, like there's no paid ad spend behind it. I think that's going to be huge for most brands. Not so much like, Facebook ads, and because like Sophie was also saying, it's not just Gen Z on TikTok. More and more different age groups are coming onto TikTok. And honestly, you can find out so many different things on TikTok, like how to cook something very specific or how to build your own AI automation agency. Like it's like the new YouTube, honestly.
yeah,
Although YouTube Shorts are also a good way of marketing too. And then I think the AI avatar sort of route, I do think that is going to be something that will continuously grow. And we've even tweaked around with that a little bit, and it's not the same as organic still. Well, it would be organic content once it's posted, but like working with a real creator, there's just you have to. It's I've seen AI avatar videos go very viral, but it's mostly because of what they're saying, and they're typically the AI avatar is making crazy claims that can get you in a whole lot of trouble. So it's just not really the route we want to go down unless it can get better and it can seem more realistic. Then I think that is something that we will probably be implementing eventually. And same with other companies too. But they still will need an agency similar to what DTC House does to kind of direct that and to know what's going viral and to know what that AI avatar is going to be even saying, if that makes sense.
totally. Yeah, I agree as well. I think the more prominent AI becomes and the more synthetic content that comes out that people see, the more they're actually gonna be turned off by it and crave authentic, organic content. It's already happening. That's why people feel like they're being sold to all the time on TikTok because they see all these paid ads and these sponsored posts. They're sick of it. They want authenticity. They want realness. They want you to recommend what you actually use, what you actually do. That's why like Get Ready With Me's and Day in the Lives are so popular because you actually want to see what a real person is doing. I work in AI, so I can easily tell if something is AI generated. I don't care if it's nano banana, I can still tell. And I'm scrolling right by. I don't care how good your hook is. Like I'm not gonna watch it. It's gonna waste my time, kind of. People, yeah, like the more that AI gets better and better, people are just gonna crave the real, authentic person. So I think that's why TikTok is so powerful in this way because people just get on and film.
Yeah, I think it's the same reason that people putting Reddit at the end of a search term has increased so much as well, as because they're looking for some degree of
Yes,
relatability and for someone who's actually reviewed it, right? And that's exploded in the past
exactly.
like couple years, right?
Yeah. Exactly, because with SEO and all of this, like Google, you could barely get any answers after going through 5 sponsored posts, and people just and I think there's a huge space for that. I know some founders are building apps where people can look at your recommendations and blah, 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 and I think that just the human touch is just becoming more and more important, so, I think it's actually gonna steer that way.
I'm curious with you. You said like one of the posts that it was your face or you doing it went like mega viral, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for landing site.
Are you ever curious about like taking all of the insights that you're learning yourself and starting your own thing?
My own like agency.
Yeah, or just like company, like if you have such a deep intricate understanding of how this entire landscape works, and like obviously you know how that works as well, like doing something similar to Sophie, does that appeal to you at all? It's just out of personal curiosity.
Um, I would say it's something I've thought about, but because the way that his name's Corey, the CEO of DTC House, the way that we work together, it almost feels like I am helping run this company.
Got you.
So I'm getting that sort of satisfaction from currently what we're doing, but maybe one day in the future, yeah,
Cool.
I'll
I was
come
just
back to
curious.
it.
You mentioned one post goes like super viral, and you know how the game works. I was just kind of curious what's on your personal horizon.
Yeah, I do my own content too, and I do TikTok shop, so I do more than just the agency. I've been able to
Yeah.
translate all that, but yeah, it's a good question.
Cool. What do you sell on TikTok Shop?
I'm also a nurse, so I mostly do like supplements and I tie that in together, but I'm
Cool.
branching out to like makeup and it's physical products, obviously, with TikTok shop.
Interesting. I might catch up with you after this and put you in touch with my co-founder. He runs a creatine gummy business that he launched a couple months ago. And they're doing really well and they're looking to go into UGC stuff as well. So I'm going to
Yeah,
put you in touch with him.
yeah, do it. Sure. I think you have my email.
I'm not sure I do, but I'll get it off Sophie and I'll follow up with you or I'll follow up with you on LinkedIn. But his
Yeah,
name's Martin and they do really well. It's called Vibrance Labs, so I'll put you in touch with him.
maybe if I saw the logo, I might recognize it. But yeah, sure. Sounds good. Thanks.
So in terms of moving forward, who do you think is poised to take advantage of this new media landscape the most? What size of company, what type of company, e-commerce brands, newsletters, whoever?
I'm not sure if I answered the first time, but um, yeah, I think as I was saying, honestly, any size company really, like since we've mostly worked with startups, but we have larger companies reaching out and we've been working with companies that have been around for so long, like Microsoft. So honestly, just really anyone who figures this out and that this is the new way of marketing first is who's going to be successful. At a certain point, it might get oversaturated, but then it's just like TikTok Shop, as I've learned. It's like you just make better content and then it typically does better than all these other people who are trying to compete. You just have to know what you're doing for it to be able to work. And that's what DTC House helps with. And yeah, and I think it's going to expand past TikTok too. I think, um, I mean, it already is on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, but I think there might even be new social media platforms out that come out in the next few years that leverage just sort of organic, short form content that brands could make so much money from.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly it can be for any sort of brand. I think if your business solves a problem for a specific audience and you can find a creator who can simplify that enough and show the value, I think yeah, really any type of business can benefit, especially yeah, with ecom, obviously with TikTok Shop, like that's for sure they can benefit, but even more complex like software brands or B2B companies, if they're creative enough to figure out a way to make it stick, I think they could be really successful because our attention spans are unfortunately a lot shorter now. So people like to consume content in little valuable tidbits, and that's why TikTok is great.
Interesting. I wonder if publishing this and then looking back on this in 1, 2, 3 years, how many of those predictions will come true, if we'll have a new social media platform that brands
Yeah,
will be using. It'll be exciting to look back on.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, when there was the whole scare of TikTok being banned, there was an app that came out,
Mm.
Flip, I think. I can't remember 100%. I didn't actually try it, but because I knew TikTok would stay around. But that was one that got a little bit of popularity. So I think it will happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. My prediction is like we mentioned, the amount of AI generated content and fluff is that there's eventually at some point going to be like an internet 1.0 and an internet 2.0, where on that specific social media platform you have to like upload an ID or do like a face
Mm.
verification,
Yeah.
and I'll have checkers for like AI generated content and wording and scripting. And I think it will start small. I think it will start with specific platforms. So it'll start with maybe a writing platform. People want to read writing that's been actually wrote by other people with life experiences. That was a terrible grammatical sentence there. But it will start with something like that, and then it will move to different platforms and different mediums, and then it'll just become a new thing where it's Internet 2.0. This is actually humans on this.
I
Yeah.
That's my
agree.
prediction.
I agree. With
I feel like
especially
you're
with
right.
agents. Yeah, especially with agents now. Like they're not going to let agents beat bop around. So,
No. Oh, we'll see. Jet, I want to thank you so much for your time today and your insight. It's been really interesting to get your experience.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I'm excited to have you be able to pick Sophie's brain. She honestly is just one of the smartest people I've met. So,
no.
but
You
thank
are.
you for this time.
Thanks for coming on,
Of course.
Jet.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jet.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Sophie,
Hello.
looked at your website, and from what I know, you do a lot of in person training, you do workshops with big companies. Tell me about your first one. How did you get contacted to do it, and what did that look like?
Yeah. So yeah, it's evolved a little bit. I've gone from more like the workshop route. That is still something that I offer, and I need to update my site. I actually have a new site being built right now, but um, it's something that I began with. Um, and then now I'm kind of more AI consultant strategist. So, we can get into that later. But in terms of the workshops, so funny because my first one happened when I was teaching in early or late 2023. And the local news network here, CBC, it would be similar to like CNN in the States. Um, I'd been on a couple of their programs before just as a person who wanted to contribute. I did like a social media experiment a couple of years ago. So they knew I was kind of in that space and they had heard about my TikTok channel. And so AI and education was a hot topic. So they had me come on to to do an interview on their radio show. Um, and then somebody who's he's the president of all the superintendents in the province heard that and invited me to come give a workshop at their next conference. So that was my first one.
Interesting. And then
Yeah.
since then, you've worked with Adobe,
I've done,
Samsung.
yeah, no, that's not for workshops, that's for my content.
Oh, I see. I
Mm,
see. Okay.
mhm. Yeah.
So initially workshops, and then you're moving more into like a kind of fractional AI
Mhm.
consultant role. Why the change?
Yeah, for sure. One, people don't always have time for workshops and training. Um, and then two, it is, I don't know how to say it, but it's a little bit harder to justify the ROI on it, because there is immense ROI, but it's not just cut and dry. Like X amount of money, X amount of hours. I have stuff that I aim for. Um, but just the work. And then the other thing is, if it doesn't lead to a long-term consulting gig, it's a one-off, and then that's not really consistent income. Um, and I think I just started there because that's my background as an educator, and I really like it. But through my fractional consulting, I'm still teaching, just at in different capacities, if that makes sense.
And your fractional consulting, who are you usually working with? You're working with the CEO, you're working with all the leadership team. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's honestly, it's very flexible. So I've worked with I have a business partner for this side of the business. We haven't officially launched yet, but we're still in the case study phase. So we've worked with everything from like doctors to restaurant franchises to land developers. But at this, our process is just okay. We start with an AI assessment. um, Basically, it if it's in person, we come in and shadow your team, watch their workflows, see your tech stack, see where the bottlenecks are, and then recommend 5 to 10 different solutions that the business can either implement themselves or they can have us on as a retainer, and then we train the employees and build all those things for you to make sure that it's implemented and working and ROI is tracked. So that's kind of where we start the AI assessment, because when you go to a business and say AI, especially here in Canada, we're about 2 years behind. A lot of people are scared of it, or they don't know what it is, or they're like, okay, but like, what does that mean? So just going in with like a lower sell and just kind of opening up their eyes to what's possible has been really effective for us. So again, yeah, it's all over the place, but we kind of start with that whole like assessment. Let's identify your problems first. And then because I guess I'm such an AI generalist at this point, I'm able to provide recommendations from there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting misinterpretation that I fell into as well. When we first started the newsletter and we were looking to do like fractional consulting or even like
Mm,
build our paid audience, like what we assumed is that everyone that we spoke to would want to be on the cutting edge of AI. They'd want to know the latest automations, the latest tools, everything else like that. And then as we started to get these first B2B clients, we noticed that all anyone was looking for was 0 to 1. They were looking for really basic AI
yes,
literacy. Just get me comfortable with it. That's all I want. And that's a really interesting thing to find out for us.
totally. Exact same thing for me. And that's why, like, it is a little bit easier to be kind of industry agnostic, because I can go in and do a workshop on prompting and then just open up your eyes to so much. And then, great, you're confident now if you want to go more advanced. But like as a teacher, we had no time for anything. And as business people, time is of the essence. So sometimes people also just want to go in and play. They don't have enough time to explore and see what all these tools can do. So yeah, you definitely have to underestimate, um, because you would think like, oh, tech companies, they must be up to date on everything in AI. And a lot of the times they aren't yet. And that's okay. It's still so new. So yeah, you have a great point there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a degree of like, once they get part, or once a company gets a certain size, there's a degree of technical debt.
Yeah.
And just that they have to go through so many layers of compliance and legislation and bureaucracy to
Yeah.
get anything implemented. And then
Yeah.
you think, oh, it's great, I'm using ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gamma and all these other apps for myself. And they're like, well, I'm hamstrung because all I can use is Copilot and I can't use anything else other than Copilot, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, yeah, that's a really good point. Working with a pension management fund on Copilot, specifically in Excel, and I've had to do a lot of learning for that too. But again, it's just the
Yeah.
simplest automations and things that help the most, and just opening your eyes to that. But you're exactly right. So I think that's why we've kind of been most successful with companies that are not that big, where there is that much red tape, more like
Mm.
kind of like local, not service-based businesses, but like I said, doctors' offices, land developers, small pension funds, like that kind of thing.
You mentioned that you're in the case study phase right now.
Hmm.
You're working with some companies. Talk to me more about the pain points that you've seen. Like, what are people struggling with? What is maybe unexpected that you didn't expect people would say? Like, what are you finding out in the weeds here?
It's a great question. Okay, two things. One, um, a lot of the ways that we've gotten clients has been through in-person engagements. So being local to our city has been a huge thing. We did not expect that. It has been challenging because, again, a lot of businesses aren't really up to speed with AI here, and they think it might be scary or don't really understand it. But the ones that do are super grateful to hear from real people, because we've heard from so many people. We are just bombarded with AI offers and emails every single day. It is so annoying. I
Mm.
saw in your email that you're based locally and you could come in and visit. That's why I responded. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that is making a huge difference. Like, and we also pick up the phone and call. We don't use voice AI. We actually pick up the phone and call people, or
Yeah.
email, or just have, more personal touch. And every single client we've had has said we've been bombarded by AI offers. And that leads to the second pain point, which I was kind of expecting, but not so much. Like, I feel this way because I work in AI. Um, but a lot of professionals are overwhelmed. They're like, I know I need to use AI, or I know I should start using it. There are so many tools out there that do the same thing, or in this vertical there's 5 or 6 tools. I'm just overwhelmed. I don't have time to vet them all. I don't know where to start. I'm just not going to do it. And that's
Mm.
been a really valuable way that we can come in and be like, okay, well, we're going to assess your problems. I get on a bunch of demos, I vet all the softwares, and then we make a recommendation, and then also train employees on how to use it. So those are the two of the biggest pain points, like not knowing where to start, and then just the general overwhelm, for sure.
Have you noticed any trends in your clients in terms of industry, in terms of company size?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. They're all different industries right now. I'm really hoping that, and I think what will happen, um, well, what it has already happened with like our doctor client is now other clinics are hearing about it and wanting to have our services. Um, but I think the main trend is, the point of contact person is open and aware, and knows that AI can help and wants to be innovative. So that's just, they've been wonderful to work with and collaborative. So that's one trend. And then again, the size, like they're not super small, but they're not super big. So anywhere from like, for smallest is like 7 to 25 employees has been kind of the sweet spot.
Okay. How do you think, or I guess what's your plan moving forward? Because right now, a lot of this stems on you, right? And there's only one of you, and we can't duplicate, we can't clone you. And you're delivering the training, you've
Yep.
got the teacher background,
Mhm.
people see your face in a public space. How do you think about scaling? And does it matter?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I've teamed up with someone, which has made a huge difference already with our agency, which has been awesome. Um, in terms of scaling, uh, let me think about that. I think the default answer is to go to, oh, well, I'm gonna make a course and it'll sell on autopilot, or I'm gonna sell my workshops, or I'm gonna do this, that. But I don't want to do that, really, because that's not
Okay.
really, unless I make a free course, because I don't want to make people pay for that. Or if I
I
make a
don't
course, I'll be
I don't
realistic
think
about it.
right. I don't That's exactly for me, right? When we are talking about this earlier, I don't think there's anything bad
Yeah,
with making a membership or making a course. I
yeah,
think as long as you're realistic about like what that actually is, what you can actually achieve with it. And then
exactly.
as a result of the success of said course or said membership, be like, yeah, the majority of my income is actually from the course sales rather than my actual work.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So that's definitely on the docket there. But in terms of scaling, otherwise, I think we just really like nail our offer and our kind of like our niche, and then
Mm.
just really exploit that vertical.
You have a background of a math and science teacher that was at high school, right?
Yeah, middle and high school. Yeah.
Middle high school. What is the commonality between middle and high school students and the people that you teach now? How do they learn the same?
Oh, great question. They're both addicted to their tech.
Okay, really?
Mm-hmm. Well, you would expect kids like middle schoolers and high schoolers to be addicted to their phones, because
Mm,
we
of
all
course.
are. Um, and then, but sometimes in workshops, like when I'm teaching a prompting framework or something like that, I actually say close your laptops and get out a piece of paper because we're going to write it down because you actually need to think about the problem before you bring it to AI. So that is one thing I've noticed very similar between those two. Um, Another thing I've learned from teaching that has been really, really valuable is just it's so unexpected. Like you can go in with a lesson plan and you could have done this lesson plan the 2 years before that, but something's going to happen, an alarm's going to go off, a kid's going to have an outburst. You need to be able to pivot and be super adaptable really
Mhm.
quickly and sometimes just make up a lesson like on the seat of your pants. So being able to do that in a business context has been extremely valuable as well because I know there are some people who are very type A and like this is what we're going to do today. If it gets off that path, they kind of just completely freeze. That's kind of like where I thrive. I can be adaptable. I have all these tools in my belt that I've gotten from teaching because it's way, way easier to teach adults than middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And especially adults that want to be there. So that's been
Adults that are paying to learn that as
it,
well, right?
night and day. Yeah. But sometimes you'll get an odd question or something that throws you off or something that maybe is in the AI realm, but you're not specifically super like I know, for example, like the environmental aspect of AI. I'm trying to learn
Mm.
as much as I can about it, but there's a lot of misinformation. And so just having kind of foreseeing those edge cases and things that might go wrong or things that might be asked is a skill from teaching. And then also um, being able to like go through your plan and kind of, I don't want to say skirt around questions, but like don't open the door for any questions you don't want to ask type of thing. Like, oh, if you talk about this, then you know you're going to be asked about this, and then you can go off a completely different path. So you just kind of want to stay grounded in that plan, even when you have to adapt.
In terms of what you think is most fundamental for people to learn moving forwards, in terms of what you're teaching, obviously you're going to be teaching how to use a certain model, how this works, how that works. But I was listening to a podcast with the 20 VC guys, so Harry Stebbings and the Cohere founder
Oh,
as
nice.
well. And what he was saying is that moving forward, the most fundamental thing he looks for in new employees is actually understanding how an LLM works, how that brain works, what its limitations are, like what are the different pieces of it, what can you do with it functionality wise. How much does that kind of play into what you teach people in terms of like, or do you fundamentally break down like what an LLM is, how it works? You more focused on the practical skills themselves, and you think that will change moving forward?
It's a great question. I always, of course, like I want to make people aware that it is just a probability machine. And we do dive, like at the beginning of the lecture, like I'm not a fan of theory, but you know what? You need to know your times tables before you go do calculus. So you need to know how these things work before you go actually and use them. So try to make it as like approachable as possible. There's a great video. I can't remember. Maybe it's from Anthropic. I can't remember where it's from. I'd have to look it up, but it really, really good visual explainer of how an LLM works. And then again, yeah, being able to explain the limitations, how to identify a problem that can actually be solved by AI because not all of them can, and just priming people. I like to call it the 80-20 rule, but people are fed this narrative that AI will just do everything for you perfectly the first time. And if you go in with that expectation, you're going to be very disappointed. So just setting expectations at the beginning and just having a fundamental overview of how an LLM works is definitely super important. But I think it's more important to know how to apply it. But to know how to apply it, you need to know a little bit of how it works. So,
Yeah, interesting.
but
I want to. There you
sorry, I
go.
think the other thing is like that shouldn't shy people away. Like Mustafa Suleiman, I think said it earlier this year, the number one interview questions new grads should be able to answer in 2025 is tell me about a time you used AI at school, at home, or at work, because they want to see how you solved a problem with AI. And if you say, "Oh, I used it to write my resume," they're going to be like, okay, like that's what everyone's doing. Show me your creative process. Show me how you figured out that AI could help you here. And like, because that shows like how adaptable you are, how creative you are, how
Mhm.
resilient and resourceful you are, rather than being able to explain a technical program. In my opinion, that's what I think. But I do think people need to know how it works so that they're not treating it like a boyfriend or girlfriend. friend or something like
Yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean? So
Or a magic answer machine of any kind that can do anything,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always lay that out super clearly for sure. It's not a search engine.
Yeah.
Sort of is
It'll
kind
be
of
it.
becoming.
I mean, kind of. What would we call Perplexity at this point?
I call that Google on steroids. Yeah, you're right. It is.
Perplexity is my favorite app. It's replaced
Same.
Safari on my phone. Like I just use it for everything now.
I
Labs
know.
is incredible. Deep research is incredible. It's
Have you,
all amazing.
have you used Comet yet?
I did, but I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. Maybe I didn't use it enough. What do you think?
I haven't had a chance to use it yet, so that's why I asked. But I think all of their other features are just amazing. I always, in my workshops, and you can do this. I don't know if you do this too, but um, I have people try out a prompt in ChatGPT, and then I
Mm,
have them try the same prompt in Perplexity, and then
yeah.
weigh out the differences. And people are like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" Like when they go to Perplexity, they're like, "This is so cool." I'm like, "Yeah," and it gives you receipts.
Yeah, the receipts. Because I remember listening when a podcast with Arvind when they first launched. I think it was just 2.5 years ago. Um, and he was talking about the thesis that like every single sentence should be a fact, and it should be able to be backed up, and it should have receipts. And I just thought that was such a beautiful sentiment that it didn't. They made a point of it never hallucinating, and when you compare it to like some of the results you get from ChatGPT, I mean, it just makes up so much nonsense all the time. Like, for example, I'll do podcast descriptions for
Mm.
this, where I'll feed in a Riverside transcript to ChatGPT and I'll ask it to make a podcast description, and without fail, every time it makes up a LinkedIn profile with like a random URL that doesn't exist. And then you touched on this as well in your TikTok as well, the M dashes thing.
Oh yeah.
You're like, don't use M dashes under any circumstance, and it just loves them so much that it's going to continue to use them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's why it's important to know how they work because they're trained on writing that uses M dashes because M dashes are a valid grammatical
I
function
love
to
them as
use.
well. I love
They're,
an M dash. I hate that it's been like
I know.
conflated with AI at this point. I was an M dash user consistently.
Okay, my mom's a journalist and she was too. And now everyone's saying that, oh, they think I wrote it with AI because I'm using M dashes. But like I'm a math person, so I'm not a writer. So I never
Yeah.
use them anyways. But yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, understanding how LLMs work in that sense is important because at the end of the day, they're just a probability machine. And even if you tell them you don't want M dashes, the way they interpret that is just a bunch of little tokens and they're not humans. They don't get it. So
This is the AI education that needs to be out there.
yeah,
100%.
exactly. All right, maybe I'll make a video about that.
I want to finish with two questions, and I'm going to
Okay,
be personal questions for you, okay?
sure.
Why do you think people like working with you?
Oh, that's so nice. That's a cute question. Um, I don't like talking about myself that much.
I know I make everyone uncomfortable at the end of every single podcast.
Really?
Oh yeah, the
Even
next one's gonna make you think as well.
even like tech bros who are super full of themselves?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's fun
Really?
breaking down the barriers sometimes.
Wow. Why do people like working with me? Um, I think I don't, this is such a weird word, but I think I give like a really approachable aura, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I think people can also tell that I'm really dedicated and love what I'm doing. And yeah, I think they enjoy working with me because yeah, I treat every client like gold and I want to make sure they succeed just as much as I want to make sure I succeed. So um, I love talking to people and I love being a people person. So I think that really stands out in an AI world and that's helped me a lot too. So
yeah. Thank you. I can imagine you're very uncomfortable answering that, but it's interesting to ask people to judge themselves positively. I think it's so easy to say to other people, "Oh, here are the a million things that I love or respect or like about you," but it's often quite difficult to give ourselves the same respect that we give to others.
I love how you asked that though. Like that's so important. We need to do that more often.
I think we do. We've got to see the
Yeah.
positives. This last question,
Okay.
take it however you want.
Okay.
I would recommend taking 10 seconds at
Okay.
least before you answer. So just pause, and I won't further up with any more context.
Okay.
Why do you do what you do?
Great question. And I think this is going to be an answer that probably no one has given you. And it probably isn't the best answer, but it's the only way that I can kind of put it into words. But it makes me feel like a kid again. Like it makes me feel like I'm having so much fun and helping people along the process, which is also awesome. But going to a work where you have anxiety and you're driving there, and that's just not a position I want to go back to. So now, like the fact that I can do all this crazy stuff and kind of build my own path is really, really cool. Because when I was a kid, like I said, like I was really into tech. I was really creative and almost like entrepreneurial. I had my own school in my basement where I was literally obsessed with Microsoft Office. I would make lesson plans and worksheets like when I was 10 years old and forced my sister to come play and be my students and stuff like that. I had a whiteboard, like it was ridiculous. And then I had a hotel with a POS system, then a spa where I had like full on TVs with relaxation music in the back and stuff like that. So I was just like a really, really creative kid who loved teaching and loved tech. So now that I can actually like embody that into a career is amazing. So that's probably why.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you bringing Jed on as well. It was fun to have a conversation with her too on her insights.
Yeah. I think like with AI startups popping out of the woodworks left and right, I'm not a founder, but of a software product, but I think their biggest problem is distribution. I think that's a fact. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and getting users and reducing churn. And I think a lot of areas that founders might struggle with, that I've noticed, is I don't want to say dumbing down, but communicating the value of your product and what it does in your language so that kind of anyone can understand it and showing its value. And one of the best and easiest ways to do that is by actually showing what it can do and what problems it can solve. And a great way to do that is through short form video. So I think for any founder that needs users or wants more brand awareness or is struggling to get traction, give it a shot.
Yeah, I think that's sage advice, I would say. Um, if people want to learn more about who you are, what you do, how do they go about getting in contact?
Sure. It's at teach to AI. So teach the number two AI. And then that is my username on TikTok and Instagram. If you search it on LinkedIn, it should come up. My name is Sophie Theodorou. But yeah, that's just search teach to AI. You should be able to find me.
Interesting. And now I know how to pronounce your surname, so perfect.
Oh,
You
there
got two birds in one stone.
you go. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sophie.
Thank you, Liam. It was so nice chatting with you.
Pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.